Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you today as we welcome Carol Bauer from Garden of Health, and I'd like to thank everyone who participated in our food drive. I'll be packing that up while Carol's talking, and she's going to share some information on the history of the program, and I think a lot of you will find some connections to what Carol's talking about. Okay, so join me in welcoming Carol.
Thank you. So, as Michelle said, I am Carol Bauer. I am the COO and founder of Garden of Health Food Bank. We got started in 2015, so this is our 10th year. We're going to have a big celebration in October for it. So I started the organization in 2015, and our original mission was providing fresh produce and special dietary foods. I have myself and all three of my girls are gluten-free, and I have several nephews who have food allergies. So as my kids grew up, we forced them, so to speak, to volunteer. It was a requirement in our household. I am a military brat. My dad did 21 and a half years in the service. And we truly raised our kids that if not me, then who? If you see an injustice, you correct it. You stand up for the underdogs. It is how I ended up with some extra pets in my house sometimes and some extra kids staying over because there were some issues in their home life or something. So we started, Keystone Opportunity Center was our very first food pantry we started to work with. And we also worked with 4 of their families in the garden at Zion Mennonite Church. We took the garden over in 2015. We took 4 families from Keystone and we gave them the plants, the seeds, and the education to grow their own food for themselves. We had, in August, we had an issue where some local teenagers decided to vandalize the garden, and one family's plants were all pulled out. And they happened to the same night also vandalize the youth football field, and they were caught. So yes, good thing, you know. But we were concerned that these families would not come back the following year because they worked so hard to get to the point where everything was just starting to produce, and then they lost a lot of stuff. But I'm happy to say that all 4 of these families came back. When we took that garden over, it was all flat in the ground. So the following year, we turned it into raised beds, 12 inches, 16 inches high, and filled those raised beds with mushroom soil. That allowed us to add a few more families because we were able to do the boxes in a better way than what they had there. In 2017, we also took over another plot of garden beds at a church on County Line Road. Again, they had a few in raised beds and then a few that were just in the ground. We had a Boy Scout come in and turn them all over to raised beds. And then we had additional families from Keystone go there and plant and raise their own produce there. So we didn't want to just be about giving handouts. We want to be about giving hand-ups so that people can learn how to support themselves and, you know, grow some of their own food. In 2018, we went from 21 raised beds to we were offered an acre of land in Harleysville. So we got onto that at the beginning of 2019. When we got onto the field was as tall as I was. I was like, I don't know what to do here. I don't have the equipment to cut it down. Like, what are we going to do? So I just did a video and posted it up on Facebook. And a kid, an 18-year-old that had just graduated from the VOTEC school that summer, immediately responded, and within 3 days, him and his dad had the field cut down for us so that we could start putting our raised beds in. So that was about an acre of land, and we had 180 12-foot by 3-foot raised beds in there, and we averaged about 10 to 12,000 pounds of food that we harvested out of there each year we were on that location. I guess it was about 2021 that Hatfield Township, Hatfield Township manager, Aaron, came to me, reached out to me and said, hey, we're coming into this piece of property. We have no plans for it. Can you meet with me? I'm like, okay. And he's like, we'd like you guys to take over this piece of land and expand your growing onto it. My response, everybody will tell you, my response is always yes, and I'll figure it out. So I was like, sure, but if you don't hear from me, that means my board has killed me because they're tired of me saying yes, and I've overwhelmed them. Thank goodness my board was on board with it. We then did, this is the design that we did up for where we are now. Inside the fenced-in area is about 7.5 acres of land. We currently have 2 field sections going, so we're all the way across. We have 2, these have been divided up into 100-foot rows and then another set of 100-foot rows. So we still have some more field area that we can do. We have 32 raised beds currently on site. These raised beds are now 32 inches tall. They are metal raised beds. Our goal with this farm is to make it inclusive so that anybody and everybody who wants to volunteer can come out and volunteer. So eventually, this color here all across the farm will be a path that will be smooth. So anybody, whether they have a cane, they have a wheelchair, they have a walker, they'll be able to come out and enjoy the nature that's out here, or even volunteer and help at the raised beds that are 32 inches high. We also plan on having 4 wheelchair accessible adult raised beds and 4 wheelchair accessible kids raised beds. Now technically the 32-inch height is considered wheelchair accessible, but they have to go sideways, so that's not very helpful. So we intend on building horseshoe shaped ones so that anybody in a wheelchair that wants to come out and volunteer can do it in a comfortable position. So we're still looking for funding for our greenhouses. So we currently, what we do to get plants is we work with other local farms. We get plants from Pennypack Farm, we get plants from Living Hope Farm, and we get plants from Peace Tree Farm. We also get plants from other like backyard growers that have extra that they grew and they don't need, so they will drop them off at the farm and we'll get them in the ground and plant them. We work with a program in Souderton School District called the STAR program. So that is a program that allows kids to stay in school through 21 because of their neurodiversity. This is their 6th season volunteering with us, and they've actually had at least 1 student graduate and get a job at a local garden center from the skills they've learned on the farm. When we close the farm for the season, the kids get really sad and upset. When we open the farm at the beginning of the season, I am told by their job coaches that it's like they just won the lottery or something. They are so happy. So we do intend on putting fruit trees on this property also, and we have 6 beehives out there currently. We also have another area that is covered for mason bees and cutter bees. That way we can we're trying to get as many bees on our property as possible to help us with pollination of all the plants that we plan on doing out there. So that is kind of our growing side of what we do. Anybody have any questions there? No? We can come back. You can think about it. If you have any, we can get to them at the end. The other side of what we do is the food banking side. So, as I said, our original mission was providing fresh produce and special dietary foods. We held true to that mission until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, we changed our mission to providing healthy food for all, including those with special dietary needs, because we saw that there was a need in Montgomery County for a food bank. There was not a food bank in Montgomery County. There are food banks out of Philadelphia that come in and support some of the agencies in Montgomery County, but they do not support all of them. So Phil Abundance does support some agencies in Montgomery County. They support 30. There's another agency called Share Food Program out of Philadelphia that supports 35 agencies. There are over 70 hunger relief agencies in Montgomery County between weekend backpack programs, pantries, soup kitchens, community meals, and homeless programs. All of them have the ability to come to us and get food from us. So we started with Keystone, we went to Manna, we grew a little at a time, and I say little, but every year we doubled in size until 2019, before COVID hit. I went to my board and I said, we can't keep growing at the rate we're growing at. It's not sustainable. And then COVID hit. And our low end of growth during COVID was 350%. And our high end of growth during COVID was 750%. So before COVID, I did everything out of my house. I started with my personal minivan, going and picking up produce at local farms. And we also started right away with a partnership in Hatfield called Country Fresh. They do all the cut-up produce you see in the grocery store at Wawa or wherever. So that partnership, we still have that partnership. We still pick up from them. But I backed up to their loading docks in my personal minivan, picking up thousands of pounds of food at a time, killing my minivan. In 2018, we were able to buy a very used cargo van. It was a 2002 that we had towed down from the Poconos that my son then did the work on, and we got it for about $5,000 all said and done. Then during COVID, we got lucky, and there was a state grant that came out that allowed us to apply to get vehicles. So we were able to apply for a total of $127,000, which bought 2 vehicles and some other equipment we needed. One of the vehicles is refrigerated, one is not. So we were then able to get rid of that 2002 and actually make more money off of it than what we put into it to begin with, because it was at the time where all the used cars were way up in price. So we made out. We were very happy with that. So we then started, as just kept growing and adding more agencies. In 2020, we did take our first commercial space. We rented a warehouse space at the Lansdale Business Center, and that came about because the National Celiac Association reached out to us and said, hey, Shar Foods out of New Jersey wants to donate a full tractor trailer of gluten-free food to us so that we can divide it, not just for here, but they worked to send that, National Celiac Association worked to send that out across the U.S. to other locations that needed special dietary foods. So we were there for 2 years in about 1,700 square feet. If I took in a full tractor trailer, I had to climb over the pallets to get to the backside where we were having our shelves to service individuals. So when COVID hit, we were doing drive-through distributions once a month. When we did that, we saw anywhere between 450 and 500 cars come through in a 2-hour time period. We backed up Valley Forge Road, we backed up Main Street. The Lansdale police the first time were like, oh yeah, we don't need to be involved. Every time after that, they were involved because we backed up everything. And then we were seeing another somewhere between 300 and 350 families every week that we were giving food to. We also were then also delivering these government boxes that came out that had milk, cheese, meat, produce in them, and we were delivering them to low-income senior housing authorities. We were delivering them to some of our partners that couldn't get them because they couldn't take an entire pallet at a time. So we were coordinating all of that with the different partners that we had at that time. And at that time, it was probably about 30 partners that we had. Then that government food went away. And it was like, okay, now how are we going to feed all these people because this government food went away? Now, some people went away too. They were able to get back on their feet. They were able to start working again as COVID kind of, we got it under control and stuff. So we were able to kind of figure things out. So that was the only year that we did not double in size, when we lost over 100,000 pounds of government food. But we were able to sustain the same amount of weight we did and grow by another 50 to 100,000 pounds of food that year. So in 2023, we did just under 576,000 pounds of food, which was double what we had done the previous year. Last year, we did 2.1 million pounds of food that we distributed out of Montgomery County. In our new space, which we moved into in 2020, anyways, we've been there about 2 or 3 years. And so we went from 1,700 square feet to 7,500 square feet, which was a big leap. since we had only been in a space of our own for 2 years, but we were growing at a rate that we couldn't stay where we were. So there are times now even the 7,500 square feet is busting at the seams, but then there's other times where it's very little food is in there. So we're seeing right now, we're seeing some slowdown of our donations coming in, and we expected that. But we're hoping that that will pick back up. Luckily, we've got a truck coming in this afternoon, and we've got another truck coming in on Monday. We were able to get some grants to install walk-in refrigerator and freezer at our at the location we're at now, which each hold 8 pallets. I still actually have had to turn down food because we've maxed out ours, and still other places have refrigerator or frozen space for food for us. And I'm like, I can't take it. I don't have any more room. So our goal is to get another walk-in refrigerator and freezer into that space. And at some point, we might have to think about moving to a bigger space. But I always say I'd rather get the food out as quickly as possible than try and move into another space. It's like, so the agencies that we work with now, there's 70+ agencies that have the ability to come to us. We still do, instead of doing a drive-through distribution for individuals, we still do a big, large distribution for our agencies once a month. And that they will get eggs. Now they're pretty much guaranteed pork every month. We've been getting a lot of donations from Clemens Food Group, but we also partner with Leidy's. Leidy's gives us pork also. So they're pretty much guaranteed pork every month. They're pretty much guaranteed eggs every month. Alderford Eggs donates 900 dozen eggs every other week to us, provided they have them. The last couple of weeks, they've been shy, which is really strange because during the height of the eggs, multiple times, they never shied us. So I'm not sure what was going on the last couple of weeks. But and then shelf-stable stuff, we also pull in extra produce at that time. So we work with a program, again, out of Philadelphia called Sharing Excess. And they pull a lot of the produce off the docks each day, what's left at the end of the day. And so we try to get anywhere between 8 and 10 pallets of produce brought in at that time. So it's roughly about 8 to 10,000 pounds of produce we're bringing in, and then anything that we have shelf stable. So each of these agencies show up with 3 to 4 cars and 3 to 4 volunteers or more. So we've broken these time zones down into 1-hour time periods, and we've actually also had to limit them to 2 volunteers at a time in our warehouse, or we would have no room for anybody to move and grab their food because there's so many. So we have a bunch of volunteers that stay out in the parking lot to grab the food from the volunteers from the warehouse and start packing cars with them. And then a lot of them will now just have one volunteer specifically for the cold stuff, grab the cold stuff, and they immediately go back to their agency home to put that away. So, but then they're also able to come to us the other weeks during the month to pick up anything we have left. So when we do our monthly distribution, we take what we have and we divide it by the number of agencies that have signed up. But we tell them this is the max you can take. Well, all agencies are not going to take everything that we have, and they won't take the max that we have. So we always have stuff left after that big distribution. So they know that they can come back that following week and grab anything extra they want from what we had during the distribution the previous week with no limitations. So then if it's like Manna, who is serving, don't know, I want to say maybe 300 families a week or something, they can come back and pick up a large amount of something specific if they want. Jenkintown Food Cupboard serves over 300 families a week, so they can do the same thing. So some of them will come back, constantly come back. Others are smaller agencies, and they've gotten enough of what they need. But if we get trucks in during the month, we will then put out a thing saying, we've got X at that, come grab whatever you want. So that is Garden of Health. That is how we've grown. That is who we are. Any questions? No? Oh, yep. So we do have volunteer opportunities out on the farm. Again, if you can't, help in the fields, we do have our raised beds. We do have 32 inches of our 32-inch raised beds out there. As I said, we do not have the pathways yet, so it would be really difficult for anybody with a walker out there. We also have opportunities to help on those monthly distribution days. So the help with that would be you just kind of tell the agencies where things are on the list. So we usually have about 6 volunteers in the warehouse, one for the refrigerator, 1 for the freezer to kind of control that chaos. We'll have 1 out with the produce, and then we'll have a few more in the area of the dry goods, just letting them know where they can find things, what amount they can take. They'll ask. Some of them, when we put out an email telling them what they have, they come with a list of what they want and know already what they're going to grab. So they'll be looking for that versus kind of grabbing a little bit of everything. So we're also looking for like some administrative help in the warehouse. I currently manage our main email plus my email for the nonprofit. There's always like some letters to go out, there's computer work, that kind of stuff. But our main volunteer opportunities are out on the farm. It would be harvesting, it would be weeding, it would be planting. We succession plant, so we plant through the whole season. And we're currently putting irrigation in, so we're hoping that we're eliminating the watering aspect of what anybody needs to do. And some of the things we grow, we've already harvested spinach, radishes, kale, some broccoli, some cauliflower. We had peas come in this week, lettuce. We'll have tomatoes, peppers, winter squashes. We'll have melons, zucchini, yellow squashes, peppers, okra, and a lot of herbs that we grow also and bring them in. Yes, we do. They are one of our 70 agencies that come and volunteer. Donna. Yeah, I know Donna very well. Yes. Yes. Yes, we do. Emails. Yep. And the way we met emails is I had gotten a donation from Ray's Greenhouse. His son does the hydroponics lettuce, and I had a van full of his hydroponics lettuce, and I drove up to the alley, and I'm like, you guys want any of this? And they're like, well, right now we're just doing sandwiches. Like, I don't know what we would do. All right, we'll try it. And so that's how we started working with emails, and so it's been great with them.
How many volunteers do you currently have?
With the farm, we average somewhere between 500 and 600 unique volunteers through the season.
Oh, goodness.
Yes.
I noticed on your sign that you gave us, you were looking for a lot of special diet type foods, and I see that we didn't really do that. How difficult has that been for you? Do you get enough?
So we backfill our special dietary needs with gift cards that we get. We do really struggle to get the special dietary foods donated to us. So we can backfill our shelves with what I will call gluten-free food that is naturally gluten-free, like brown rice, quinoa, nuts, seeds, dried fruit, things like that, peanut butter, jelly, some of the basic standard stuff. Spaghetti sauce. But again, with spaghetti sauce, you have to, like if somebody is dairy-free, you've got to watch that. Broth. Broth has gluten in it. Tuna fish and canned chicken is no longer in water. Even though it says water, it's canned in broth. Broth has gluten in it. Or some broth does, some does not. So it's some things like that like people are like, oh, it's just broth. There's no like wheat in there or barley or rye or, and sweetened stuff. Like, so we have to watch out for, I'm going to forget the name of it now, maltodextrins that's made from barley. So it's a sweetener made from barley that, so like when we look at things, if my daughters want a snack, they pretty much know which brands they can trust, but brands are always changing their formula. So we've learned to always look and just make sure that things haven't changed, like the broth in the tuna fish that says it has water instead. I don't get that one.
Is there a local place where we could drop off gluten-free and special diet stuff?
Our warehouse is in North Wales, on Church Road. So if you're familiar with Sumney Town and Church, where the Royal Farms is, just past Merck, you would make the left, and we are just past the Park Apartments. We have a drop-off box, kind of like the beanbag program does, where you can just drop stuff in there at any time of day or night that works for you. And if you have stuff here, I live 2 minutes up the road. I can always swing by at some point on my way home or my way in the morning and grab anything that might be here. It doesn't, I mean, literally, I'm 2 minutes up the road. I live near Franconia Elementary. Anything else? Well, thank you very much for coming and listening to me and what I had to say, and to learn more about the county and what's going on.